Development Services?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good evening, Mr. Matthews.
Good evening, Council Member.
Good evening, Miss Erin. Oh, 5:30. Ooh. Yeah, guess we got to get started. Good evening, everyone. Are we live? I believe so. Yep, we are. Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Planning, Economic Development and Housing Committee, which we say PD&H committee meeting. Today is February 2nd, and the committee meeting is being held virtually and is broadcast through our HPA-TV television station. And you can view our broadcast on Comcast TV channel 96 and also on Frontier channel 6032. In case you missed the meeting and you want to catch up later on, you can also view the meeting on your YouTube channel and also on HPA-TV Facebook. So again, good evening and welcome to the Planning, Economic Development and Housing Committee. The members here tonight are going to be Councilwoman Marilyn Rossetti. We have Councilman John Gale. We have Councilman James Sanchez, and we have Councilwoman Tiana Hercules. I believe those are the members of the committee that are present. If we, any other-
We also have Councilman LeBron.
Councilman LeBron, did I miss him?
Yes, hello, good evening, and Madam President is here as well.
I am so sorry, I am going down. Good evening, Councilman Nick LeBron, not a voting member, but he loves coming to the committee meeting. So thank you very much for keeping our company and welcome. And we also have our council president, who is a member of the committee, Councilman Rosado. Do we have Melody? Yes, she's there. So we got a full slate tonight, everyone. We have about 7 items on the agenda. So let's get started. The first item on the agenda is a resolution by Councilman Clark, Councilman LeBron, and other council members urging the city of Hartford to apply for grants and funds and develop a partnership as requested by the collective body representing North Hartford community. This item was on our agenda at our December 13th council meeting. It was postponed at our January committee meeting, and we are now going to discuss that item. Do we have anyone from Development Services who want to address this item?
Yes, Madam Chair, Charles Matthews, Director of Development Service. Oops. And let me thank the committee for giving us the opportunity to respond to the resolution. Obviously, I might say that when we see resolutions like this, we become somewhat concerned. There's a narrative floating around the north end of Hartford that the city administration, the city leaders do not care about what goes on in the north end. That's a false narrative. And we have tried in many ways to counteract that narrative, dispel it, because we do care about the north end. We do care about the quality of life. We do care about the residents, both for the administration, DDS, and I'm sure every council member feels the same way. But nevertheless, that's the narrative we're dealing with. That being said, we have said it orally to as many people as we could. We're thinking now that what we might do with this presentation, hopefully I'll be able to make, is visually show folks all the activities and the programs that are taking place throughout the North End, and maybe that will help to dispel the notion that for some reason we don't care, for some reason we're not focused, and for some reason we're not invested in the North End. This presentation, which I hope you all received, I sent it out, and clearly indicates all the different investments we're making in the North End that will enhance the quality of life, deal with issues around safety and economic wellness, create jobs. What I want to do with your permission, Madam Chair, is go through the presentation very quickly. I know you have a lot on your plate. Highlight the various slides and the points I need to make. And then at the conclusion, take any questions you may have. And I said to one council member earlier, I really hope at the end of the day, council members and people who may be listening on will hopefully say, whoa, I didn't know all that was going on. Because even though we may say it to folks, for some reason, you know how meetings are in all over the neighborhood. You go to the meeting, one meeting on a Monday and you got 30 people. You go to the same meeting on Tuesday and you got 30 new people. So it becomes very difficult to get the word out. I hope this will get the word out. And just so you know, before I start the presentation, my goal is to take this same presentation and meet throughout the north end of our city, every NRZ, every neighborhood group we can find, every stakeholder we can find, key stakeholders, and make this presentation so we can dispel this sense that things aren't happening. We try to invest in all of our neighborhoods, and you'll see from this presentation, over the last year and a half, we have made sizable investments in the north end. So with that, Madam Chair, I would love to start the presentation and again, move through as quickly as I can, and then take questions you may have and deal with whatever comes up. I'm not hearing you.
Yes, sir. I just would like you to introduce, you do have members from your department with you that I did not introduce as we started the meeting. So hopefully you'll be able to let us know who members from your department.
Yes, it just so happens we have a ton of stuff on your agenda today. Then we have Aaron Howard, who'll be making the presentation around the Parkville district. We also have, I believe Liz is on, Liz Torres. She's a consultant we hired. Judith Rothschild should be also on. I assume Randall Davis is on, our deputy. So we have a number of people on. If I missed anyone, just speak up. No, I think I have them all. But we'll be presenting on all of the various items on your agenda.
Okay, sir. Thank you. The floor is yours, sir. You can go ahead and show your presentation.
Okay, thank you. My wing person on this presentation is Aaron Howard. This first slide, very quickly, is just the intro. If you look at the various stars on the slide, you quickly see all the different projects that we have throughout the north end of the city, in the northeast, in Clay Arsenault, in the Blue Hills, all through the city. Next one. I want to make this point with many of the council members. I'm sure you know this, but some of the community folks may not. Most of the projects we do in the neighborhood, whether it's the west end, south end, or the north end, most of those projects are funded by public dollars. It is still very difficult to get private lenders, banks, and other financial institutions that make investments in projects we're trying to do in the north end and other areas of our city. So here in DDS, we work really hard to identify as many funding sources as we can where we can lay our hands on public dollars. I think it's fair to say some of these directors and executive directors of these organizations you see listed, when I call them now, they almost refuse to talk to me because I'm always begging for money. And but that's the situation we find ourselves in because we have to fund our projects. And since we can't get monies from banks, we need to find as many public dollars as we can. We also have money from CIP, money from city funds, but you see the list there of where we get all of our monies. And we have a relationship with all of these funders. So when we have great programs or great projects, we're able to get the dollars we need most of the time. Next. The point I want to make on this particular slide, 2 points. One, that all development deals that you may already know are different. No two development deals are in fact the same. They come together different. Some take more time than others. Some need fewer dollars than others. Some you can pull together in 30, 40 days. Others it takes years to pull them together for a lot of reasons. Another thing you may want to look at as you go through this presentation, there are various stages of development. You see on the left-hand side, there's a pre-development assessment phase. I call that a vision. People in the neighborhood have a certain vision, and they want to figure out if that vision is possible. And what we do with every neighborhood group, we work with them on planning their vision, on designing their vision. And then we go from planning and design to hopefully construction. That's how all these things happen. Very few of our neighborhood development plans or our neighborhood stakeholders or neighborhood residents will come to the table with all that intact. One of our responsibility in DDS is to help make these visions come to fruition. Next. Just to open with one of the projects that we started a few years ago, even before I came on board, and that was the Swift factory. A lot of people may not know, who may not be familiar with the neighborhood, that building and that complex is roughly 2.6 acres, was on the verge of being blighted and abandoned for a number of years. Community Solutions came in. We got some money from Decd, and they converted that building into office space, into space for entrepreneurs. You'll find a number of kitchens in that space. So those people who want to operate food trucks can go into that space and cook their meals, and then go out in their trucks and sell their wares and make a real good living. So that's the first thing I want to show you. Now, I know many council members have raised the issue, and many residents have raised the issue about quality, affordable housing. This Westbrook Village development is 400 plus quality, affordable, new construction row houses. They're going to have roughly 80,000 square feet of retail space that they're still trying to fill, obviously. But as you can see, they have completed phase 1, phase 2. They're working on phase 3, phase 4. This is a great project. When you talk about affordable housing, the Westbrook site is really good. And that's right on Westbrook in the north end, right on the edge of the Blue Hills. This next site is the old Bowes Park. As you know, this will be approximately 300 plus row housing units. Again, quality, affordable housing. And this is also in the construction phase and being done. I dare say, when you look around the city, I would say right now, there's probably more quality, affordable, new construction housing in the north end as compared to any other neighborhood in the city. Beautiful housing is going up. This slide, I want to probably point out to you may know in the city list of property, we have a lot of vacant lots. What we try to do with the vacant lots is find developers who are interested in building homes, single-family homes, or mainly two-family homes. Here on Edward Street, we have a developer who just happened to be a female of color, and she is building 3 two-family homes on Edward Street. Before she started, this was simply a vacant lot. And we put the financer in place for her, worked with her, and now we have on Edward Street, we'll have 3 two-family homes where the owner can live on one floor, and he or she can rent the second floor and help pay his or her mortgage. Yes. Also in the Northeast, we have the Bracket Nose project taking place right off Western Street. It's roughly 14 units of two-family homes. 5 have already built. The other 9, my understanding, are still in the process of being built, and they're already pre-sold. So the whole idea of home ownership, which is near and dear to your heart as a council, near and dear to our heart and the mayor's heart, is happening as we speak. Again, these are 14 units. It's being funded by the Connecticut Department of Housing, but we've been working very closely with DOH and the developer to make this project come to life. We talked a moment in an earlier slide about the Swift factory. You should know that as we speak, we have a library on Barber Street in Unity Plaza. That's an old building. It needs more space to deal with all the youngsters that happen to live in that neighborhood. That library will be moving to the Swift factory building, and it'll be a brand new build out, a brand new library, all kind of digital stuff going on in that particular space. And for the first time, that neighborhood, again, right in the middle of the Northeast, right in the middle of the Promise Zone, will have a brand new library to take care of all the youngsters that we have in the neighborhood and the adults who obviously may want to use the library to research jobs and things of that nature. One of our favorite projects that currently being worked on, you're all familiar with the Arrowhead development project. It's right diagonally across the street from the stadium. It's an old Arrowhead Cafe site. I know I was talking to one council person, he indicated that his family used to have property right there, own that place. That site will be developed. We have a consultant on board already. San Juan Center is part of that whole consultant team, along with Carabetta. We're in the process of putting the dollars in place. And over the last month, we have also enlarged the project. Initially, when we sent out the RFP, it was simply the Arrowhead site, along with the two House of Bread sites that we purchased, along with some action on Ann Street. Now, they have an LOI from the developer who owns a flat iron building. So now we'll have development basically from the corner of Pleasant Street all the way down to the flat iron building. And it will be roughly 43 plus rental units and retail on the first level. And with the flat iron building, my understanding is that will be perhaps micro units they refer to. Micro unit is roughly 300, 400 square feet. And on the first floor, obviously, there'll be retail. And again, it's one of those projects we have met with the various NRZs in the neighborhood, other community groups, other stakeholders to make sure we have maximum amount of public input as we move this project forward. This is the gateway, not only to the downtown, but the gateway to the north end. This way, quickly, I wanted to throw up the North Main Street streetscape. You may know we have already put together the design for the North End, North Main Street streetscape, but we're also trying to work as we speak with the DOT, Department of Transportation State, maybe with the bond commission at some point, in order to get what we need is another $16 million in order to do from Earl Street, put not new construction, but do a new road work from Earl Street all the way down to the Windsor line. For those of you who are familiar with Albany Avenue and all the road work that was done on Albany Avenue, we want to do the same thing along North Main Street, again from Earl down to Windsor line. Talk about improving the quality of life and safety and having people feel good about their neighborhood. If you go down Albany Avenue, a lot of folks feel good about the streetscape that occurred there. Now, some people will say no, but for the most part, I think the neighborhood was pleased with the work. Another project in the Northeast, to give you an example of all the different kind of folks that DD has worked with, Metropolitan AME Church They're in the process of trying to build and design. They've already designed it. They're trying to put together their funding stack, and we're working with them to help them with their capital stack and get the money. They have about maybe a $2 million gap right now they're working on. The idea here is to have commercial space on the first floor and have 22 to 29 units of one bedroom units for senior citizens. You may know in the Northeast, the data suggests that they have a high concentration of seniors over 65 years old that may be looking for space. So what we're trying to do is make sure that as we move to improve the quality of life for young folks and middle-aged folks, that we don't forget our seniors. So we've been working very closely with the church in order to make this project happen also. The Hartford parking study, as you know, if you go down Albany Avenue and Wethersfield Avenue and downtown North, you see Parkville, you see major parking issues. We have commissioned a parking study to focus on areas around the city, but particularly focus on Albany Avenue, where they have significant parking challenges, and also on North Main Street. North Main is not a focus as we speak, but we believe we can take all the data we learn, all the information we learn from what occurs in Upper Albany, and make that applicable to North Main Street. We do have to deal with the parking issue. It does impact the quality of life, safety, and all kinds of issues. Just to give you some idea, if you look at what's going on Albany Avenue, all those little orange parcels you see where they do private parking. But even with all those private parking areas, you still have a situation, if for those who have driven down Albany Avenue, where people are double and triple parked. And any moment somebody will throw their door open and you're worried you're going to take a door off. So we do have to deal with the parking issue. That does in fact affect the quality of life and safety of residents, and also impact people's ability to do business on the commercial strip. Thank you. Next. On this one, it sounds like we have already talked about this slide, but I want you to keep in mind that when we talk about the Arrowhead Gateway small area plan, we're talking about from the corner of Pleasant and Main Street all the way down Albany Avenue to Green Street. The city owns a lot of property from the Flatiron Building down to Green on Albany Avenue, right before you get to Shiloh Baptist Church. And the city owns a lot of property through its foreclosure and its tax deed sale down Main Street all the way to 7th Street. So the idea is to come up with a development plan for Albany Avenue on the property we own, a development plan for the Main Street gateway all the way down to 7th Street. We have hired an external consultant, and that external consultant has been meeting with the Clay Osno Nrz, with neighborhood stakeholders, trying to work with the neighborhood to figure out what they would want since they live in the neighborhood, and take all of our market surveys and try to come up with something that will really benefit the gateway. Because let's face it, when you drive down Albany Avenue and you get to Green down to the Flatiron Building, that's a gateway. When you come down Main Street and you hit 7th Street and you come down 7th Street to downtown, that's a major gateway. We want to be certain it fits in with the overall character of the neighborhood, and more importantly, the neighborhood have maximum input into what we do. Another Northeast project, Hartford Renaissance District. This is something that's been pushed for years by Howard Cahill and others in the neighborhood of Barber Street. They have pulled together a group of neighborhood folks. They have hired a consultant from North Carolina to work with them, and they have a vision for the Hartford Renaissance District. If you look at the top picture of a building, that That's a building that's located at what is now the Snyder Supermarket. Their vision is to create 75 housing units above and retail on the first level. Uh, Down the bottom, that's a city-owned parcel, as you may know. Down the bottom on the corner of Westman Street and Barber Street, the city owns another parcel of land. Their vision is to build 48 housing units uh, and retail on the first level. So far, it's still a vision. We have set aside $5 million to help in this effort, and we still have work to do. Our goal is in the next 6 to 18 months, have a lot of pen to paper and flush out this. But this is a community that suffered badly from the riots in 1968, and not much has been done in that neighborhood for years. Now we have a plan to help turn that neighborhood around and make some things happen, and we're working hand in hand with the community folks on this project. My favorite project, and many of you, Albany and Woodland. This is a project on the corner of Albany and Woodland Street. You may know that vacant lot has existed for a number of years. The community, through people like Albany Main Street, the Upper Albany Development Inc., Denise Best and her company and her crew have all been clamoring for a number of years for the city to try to move forward and do something on this corner. We now have a potential developer we're working with, and we have a parcel where we're now looking at having a first-class sit-down restaurant, a coffee shop, a 3,000 square foot building or space that will be housed by a national retailer. As you may know, we also have been talking with City Treasurer Adam Cloud, and we may in fact be in a position where we can have a bank on that site. For those of you who don't know, in the entire North End, there are two financial institutions. One is a bank on Albany Avenue, and the other is a small credit union on Main Street. So we will have a bank hopefully at this site. We're in negotiations now, working with the treasurer. So, and don't let me not forget, we're moving the health department from its present location on Tower Avenue. The 60 employees in the health department will also be moving to this site. That is a major change that will enhance the economic well-being in that neighborhood and make a lot of positive things happen in that neighborhood when we fill that space up with this project. We have set aside, I might add too, on that project, roughly $11 million to help make that happen. The national retailer will pay for its own cost to build its structure. The next slide, which just happened to also be the Northeast, is the old Fuller Brush building. You all may know that is all the way down North Main Street before you get to the Windsor line. This project is currently being developed. We have 100, the big brown building you may have noted in the front will be 161 rental apartments, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. It will be roughly 80% market and 30% or 20% affordable. Although the difference between the market rates and the affordable rate is probably $50, given the neighborhood and how the pricing will play out. This project, as you can see, will be done in phases, phase 1 and phase 2. Fairly certain that this project will in fact move forward and happen. Northwest Jones School. For those of you who have been around Hartford a long time, you're probably very familiar with Northwest Jones School. Let me give you a little context on this one. Presently, we do not have a library branch in the Blue Hills area. So many of the youngsters who need library services will probably hop on the bus or have their parents drop them off or walk down to the Albany Avenue branch, which is west of this building you're looking at in the picture. Because of that, we have set aside roughly $5 million to convert the Northwest Jones building to a library annex. Being a library annex will enable us to not only serve the needs of the many youngsters who may live in the Albany Avenue area, but also serve the needs of the youngsters who live in the Blue Hills area. We're moving to stabilize the building within DDS, and then at some point, as soon as we stabilize it, DDS will transfer the property to the Hartford Library, and the library will be responsible for building the space out into a library annex. My understanding, perhaps on the top floor, there may be an opportunity for the community to have community space, to put a small museum up there. So we have worked with all the stakeholders in the community to make sure, again, we have maximum input. Let me just say this. We believe in public engagement at DDS, and we think it's important for the city to have public engagement with neighborhood residents, particularly when they may be suspicious of our activity. It's very important that we continue to talk to the neighborhood folks and let them know that we're certainly here to help. Next one. This is a favorite site for some council people. This is the old recreational center on 11th Street. Quite honestly, the city was considering tearing this building down and doing something else on this site. I was invited to a meeting by Councilperson LeBlanc, and we met with the Blue Hills Nrz, and it made clear to us that the Blue Hills community wanted us to try to restore this building so they would have one more site where they could do recreational opportunity for the many youngsters who live in the Blue Hills. We have the Boys and Girls Club on Granby Street, and sometimes, as you know, we use Weaver to run some program, but we really need another site. So we have set aside $1.6 million, and probably in the late spring, early summer, this facility be ready to go to run programs in for the youngsters and maybe some adults who may live in the Blue Hills. Okay, this is the corner of Vine Street and Albany Avenue. For those of you who go down Albany Avenue, you can't miss this building. This building has been purchased by a developer. We intend and we have funded this building to the point where the developer will in fact refurbish 8 apartment units above, and the first level he has money in his pro forma to do all new facade. So we have 8 new units above, and we have great facade work on the street level that will make it more people friendly and make it look attractive when people walk down, and really have a real plus as you walk down Albany Avenue, get the Vine. To the east, you will see another plaza. That's down in the bottom right-hand corner. There's a small plaza right east of the building, and that will also be modernized. We'll put new facade on it. We'll dress the building up. So we'll have a situation from the corner of Vine all the way down to Magnolia Street, which is the next through street. It'll be all dressed up with new facade, new apartments above, and it'll be a major addition in terms of appearance to Albany Avenue. And those monies and dollars are already in place too. This is the Golden Crush building. For those of you who know Albany Avenue, is right on the corner of Albany and Woodland, directly across the street from where we intend to do the restaurant and the bank and everything else I described earlier. This building has been purchased by a developer. We have funded his restoration of 18 1- and 2-bedroom apartments above, and put facade money in his pro forma so you can have all new facade on the street level. Right next to it, east of it, you see what is known as, and I know the council chairman will know this well, the Tinker Building. He has now purchased the Tinker Building, and we're in the process of putting together a capital stack. So in the Tinker Building, we can renovate 8 on the bottom right. We can renovate 8 apartments above for rental to many folks in the neighborhood, and we'll do all new facade work on the bottom. So we will have now a situation from the corner of Woodland Street all the way down the driveway to the senior center. There'll be all new apartments and all new facade. A nice piece to complement what we do right down the street at 1240, the Northwest Jones Annex, Library Annex, and right across the street where all the new developments that are occurring across the street. Yes. This is a parcel, but it used to have the old police substation on this parcel. Is at 614 Albany Avenue. We have met with the community 2 or 3 times to try to figure out what to do with this site. We currently have allocated $1.8 billion. The community has talked about some retail, maybe a little music venue of some sort, or maybe a restaurant of some sort, off-street parking to be on this location. You see in front some of the road work that came down Albany Avenue. For those of you who have not been down Albany Avenue for a while, I suspect what we'll try to do over the course of the next 2 to 3 months is nail down exactly what we might do on this site, and then come up with another plan and make another run with our community residents. But this is a project that the community has indicated they really want to have happen, and we're going to try to move as fast as we can to clean this parcel up. Brownfield Mediation. You may know when you look at this site that throughout the north end and some other parts of our city, we have a lot of properties that are in fact environmentally challenged. And as you may know, before we can even begin to think about doing any development, we have to first environmentally clean the site up. The next couple of slides will just give you an idea of all the different parcels throughout the north end that are in various stages of remediation. To clean them up and all to get them ready for either the land bank or ready for habitat for amenities or ready for a developer to make some things happen. Aaron, just flip through the next 2 slides so they can see all the different projects that we are currently, or properties that we are currently remediating throughout the north end. Now, again, hopefully you have your deck and you had a chance to look at this, but as you can see, these are many properties. These are a lot of properties we're working on to do remediation before we can even get to trying to do development on it. But the good news is we have been successful in getting money from DECD and others in order to remediate these properties. And the next step, and the next time I do an update, you see us turning this stuff over to the land bank or other partners to develop these properties. Next one. This 270 to 310 Albany Avenue. For those who may not be fully familiar with Albany Avenue, this is a parcel directly across the street from Kirk Middle School. If you visualize Kirk Middle School and you think about Albany Avenue, this parcel is directly across the street. The city owns a lot of these parcels, and it's our intent to develop it. We've already set aside $3 million. We have sent out RFP to the developer to come up with some ideas to develop it. The way we normally work at DDS, once we get a developer on board, even before we get a developer on the board, we talk to the community, Clay Osno and others, about what would you like to see on that site. This will mainly be mainly be a retail play. We're not going to have housing here. This will mainly be retail. And what we'll do with the developer and the play also Nrz and other neighborhood members is talk to them about what pieces will work there. What would they like to see? Do you want a laundromat? Do you want a Starbucks? You know, which probably won't be like, but we want to make sure that when we put stuff retail on the site, that the retail will complement the needs of the neighborhood. But the bottom one you will see on the bottom left, that building is a historic building, and as part of our whole build out of this area, we have to restore that building since it's a historic building. We can't tear it down. Amy will kill me if I even thought about that, and then we'll restore it, and then we'll build out the rest of the site. This is from the corner of Center Street, if you know Center Street, all the way down to Green Street, the street right before you get to Shiloh Baptist Church. This is another partner we have acquired. This is property that is owned by the Housing Authority. It's on Bellevue Street. It's a great piece of property, great bones. We had some early discussion with the Housing Authority team, and the city is working with the Housing Authority team to convert these units into 10 home ownership opportunities. 10 home ownership opportunities. It'll probably be priced right. It's a beautiful set of buildings. Right now, it's vacant. It's boarded up, and we see an opportunity working with the Connecticut Department of Housing to convert this to home ownership. You know, our big passion is to increase the number of home ownership. Currently, our rate is around 25% in the city of Hartford. When you look at New Haven, they're up in the 40s. So we have to find ways, in addition to having high quality, affordable rental housing, also trying to increase home ownership rates. Yes. I put this one in there to point out to you that we have a number of blighted units in the city. Many obviously in the North End. And as you know from your own experience being property owners, many of you, the worst thing in the world, if you invested all your dollars in a particular parcel and right next door you have a blighted property. It just drives down your property value, and when you go to sleep at night, it makes you crazy. Our goal is to grab as many blighted properties as we can and and bring them back to useful life. This is a property on Brook Street, as you see, and we're working with one of our many. We have 3 to 4 great developers, contractors of color who have the capacity to build not only from the ground up, but to also take blighted properties like this and bring them back to useful life and fix them up. I might say on that note before you go, just so you know, we've been in DDS very aggressive on foreclosures. You may know with blighted property, we can put a blight lien on the property, but we can't do much more than that unless we in fact have title, unless we own the property. So when we find landlords or property owners that are unwilling to take care of their property and it has a number of blight liens on it, or they may not have paid their taxes, we move very aggressively to foreclose. And right now, as we speak, just so you know, we have roughly 50 units of housing and vacant lots in various stages of foreclosure in the court as we speak. Of the 50 units, my understanding is roughly 20 are vacant lots and roughly 30 are actually properties with structure on it. What we will do with those, we have another 20 in the pipeline that we're waiting to put in foreclosure. Well, the plan is real simple. We foreclose on properties that property owners not willing to take care of, and as quick as we can, we turn them over to the land bank. We turn them over to Habitat for Humanities. We turn them over to our minority developers and partners and bring them back to useful life. And through this whole process, we've worked with them to come up with the funding necessary to make this happen. McCook, in the resolution before you, there was some talk about doing something at the McCook site. I have said to many people throughout the community that we have a plan for McCook hospital site. Uh, this is a site really that is from the corner of Holcomb Street and Coventry all the way down to the North End Senior Center. We receive over $200,000 from DECD to do a phase one, a phase two, and a hazardous material a review of this site. Just so you know, when you have a contaminated property, the first thing you have to do is figure out the level of contamination. Once you figure out the level of contamination and what it would take to deal with the contamination, right now, from old data, it's suggested that this might be anywhere between $4 to $6 million to abate this one building. We need to confirm that. And once we confirm what the abatement is, the next step is to say, all right, if it costs $4 to $6 million to abate the property, what can we put in that property to reduce our costs? For example, if it costs that much, we probably won't be able to do housing because you have to do a full abatement of environmental challenges in a building like this or any building. But we may be able to do something else in that building that will cause us to only spend $2 million for abatement, depending on what we put in, rather than $6 million. This is on our radar. Once we finish the assessment of this property and we go through all the various environmental things we have to do, then what we will no doubt do is put out an RFP and say to those developers, to the degree that you have an opportunity to acquire this building, what might you put there? And then based on what they might put there, we'll be able to determine exactly how much we have to spend to abate that property. But I wanted to call this out because it was certainly on your radar from the resolution you received. Phillips CME Church. It shows you we work for everybody. You know, Metropolitan, AME, Phillips CME Church. They own a 2.6 lot right next door to the church. This project is in the vision stage and the pre planning stage. They're thinking about putting mixed use projects on this site, retail on the first level, apartments above with a courtyard in the middle and some off-street parking. Now we're going to have to work with the church as we work with other folks who have visions of what they want to do in their property. They help them develop their capital stack. They help them decide what plan that they have to do. We might even get in the design phase of what they might need to do. But this is another project that's taking place right in the middle of the Northeast neighborhood in the Promise Zone. So we're very focused on trying to make things happen in the Northeast neighborhood. As you know, 06120 is one of the most distressed neighborhoods in the whole state. So we're trying to make sure we do as much as we can in that neighborhood to attract private investment. And so people feel better about their neighborhood. Better things will happen. The quality of life will improve. All those things are important to us. Yes. Next. The grocery store. As you know, we have tried for over 2.5, 3 years now to convince a grocery operator to come downtown around the clock tower. That didn't work out for us. We moved it over to Parcel A on the corner of Pleasant Street, and so far we've had very little luck attracting an operator. As you know, we can't do a grocery store without a grocery operator. It's just that simple, and we don't have one now. One developer came to us, and he has a plan to try to put a grocery store at Terry Square. If you drive down North Main Street, you see a lot of yellow buses parked as you go north on Main Street on your left. That's Terry Square, and we're working with that developer to try to see if it's feasible. We still have to work out some funding issues. We have to work out the issue of who's going to be the operator and whether the operator has capacity to make it happen, because we're talking roughly 20, 25,000 square foot supermarket, among other things. So we're still working on this. we're not quite there yet, but we're working on this as hard as we can because we fully understand that in many respects, the North End is a food desert. And people have complained and said to us over and over again, we need to move the supermarket. We get it and we hear it. It just makes very little sense to throw something in that may not be sustainable. The worst thing we could do is build a supermarket only to have the supermarket operator shut down in 6 months or a year because his revenue is not sufficient to open his door. So we try to be very diligent and very careful and do all the due diligence we can to make sure that we put the right supermarket in the right place and they have a reasonable chance of being successful. Yes. This is, again, one of our major partners. What you see here are some properties that the land bank have acquired from the city. As you may know, when we acquired these properties in foreclosure, we turn over many of them. We turn over to the land bank. And the land bank has a responsibility to first of all hire Hartford residents to work on many of these projects, hire Hartford developers when and where they can, and when they convert these buildings to useful condition and back on the tax roll, give Hartford residents a chance to acquire these properties as first-time property owners. So all that takes place with the land bank, and I might mention on your next council agenda, you have somewhere between 15 to 17 parcels of property that will be transmitting and transferring to the land bank so they begin their operation. So I want to urge council members to look for that. They'll be coming your way on the next council agenda, I believe. And again, one of our many partners, Habitat. We work with Habitat to identify vacant lots. As you know, Habitat is expert at building single-family homes and multi-family homes throughout. They mainly operate in the Northeast. We're trying to encourage them to expand their horizon to other parts of the North End. We also work, as I mentioned before, with a number of 3 or 4 great minority developers and contractors who have the ability to do exactly what Habitat is doing, exactly what the land bank is doing. That's very important. Many of these female minority developers and contractors, they hire Hartford residents, and they do a fantastic job in making things happen throughout our city. So in addition to feeding the land bank, so to speak, we also have to be very focused on feeding our small minority businesses of color and others who operate in and around the North End so they can keep their people working and they can make an impact on their neighborhood. Finally, this is my last slide. I know you're all happy. I want to just say we actually talk about why we do the work we do. And many of my folks, and I want to thank my team, we're very passionate about what we do. We feel that we're really making a difference in the work we do. And then you look at this slide very carefully, you see we want to enhance the quality of life. No one cares more about the quality of life for folks in the North End than the people that work for you. And we see DDS and the employees of DDS as working for the mayor, but also working for the council. We care about the quality of life. We care about safety that occurs. We care about economic wellness. The next one is we want to increase hope. The people lose hope very quickly during this period of COVID. We want to make sure people walk out their door, they see something going on in their community that they can feel proud of, and they have good esteem about what's happening. So that's important to us. We stabilize these communities. The next one, want to improve property values. Like I said earlier, nothing will destroy property value on your property than having 2 or 3 blighted buildings on your street. That will collapse your property value. We want to increase employment opportunities for our small minority businesses, our small contractors who are working. That's important to us, that we find opportunities for them. The next one is grow. We want to grow job opportunities. Again, many of the businesses, many of the contractors that work in and around the North End and other parts of our city, they do in fact hire Hartford residents. And these Hartford residents are getting skills that will be helpful to work on even bigger projects, perhaps downtown. And the final one is obviously assist in stabilizing all we do. It's important for us that we focus on public engagement, and as we do all these projects throughout the North End, that we engage as many folks as we can. Now, it's fair to say, I can't say that 100% of people always like what we're doing, but we do the best we can to reach out to folks and explain exactly why we're doing it and why we feel it's important for the neighborhood. But that's my presentation. I'll now take any questions that some may have.
Mr. Matthews, thank you so very much for a really detailed presentation of all that's going on in North Hartford. Do we have any comments, questions from any of the committee members before I go to the non-committee members? Just kind of wave your hands so because I can't see everyone.
Councilwoman Surgeon, it's Councilwoman.
There you go. As I said, wave your hands because I can't see everyone's on the screen. Councilman Mitchum, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Director Matthews, thank you for that extensive and detailed presentation. I have a question about the grocery store. I know, as you mentioned, I think we all know sort of getting an operator to come and invest and stay is the great challenge. There are some cities around the nation that just run their own grocery stores, not co-ops, but they just own the store and they run it. And then they don't have to worry about an unprofitable quarter or year, and they can do it as a public service, the same way we do our parks, right? Our parks don't have to make a profit. They're just there to be parks. Yeah. I wonder if you've looked into that at all.
No, that's a good point. We have not looked into that. I have thought about, well, I don't want to say publicly, but I have thought about another organization in town that may have capacity to run the grocery store, because since we cannot find operators, national operators who have any interest, the question is, what's plan B? We need a plan B. Right now, we have a possible plan B. Let me just put it on the table. We have a grocery store owner that roughly has 10,000 square feet, and he's managing 10,000 square feet of a grocery store. The question is, does he have capacity to grow his 10,000 square feet to 25,000 square feet? So we're looking at that very carefully, because again, and we're looking at what funding we might need for someone to grow his business from 10,000 square feet, Councilman, to 25,000. So he needs some additional funding, because when you run a grocery store, as you may know, the margins are thin. So you may hit a dry spell where you need some additional cash to hold you over. So we're trying to figure out, what does that look like? If you have a big chain and you have 4 or 5 grocery stores, one may go down in terms of revenue, but you have another 2 or 3 that will support the one that's down. This one possibly would be the only one. That's why the national chain is better. But since we don't have a national chain, believe me when I tell you, we're looking at what might be a possible plan B. We need a plan B. And right now, we're still wrestling with it, trying to make things happen.
Got you. I will send you an email about some of those cities that have owned their own grocery store. Thank you.
Good.
Councilman, thank you. Councilwoman Rossetti.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Director Matthews, thank you. And I want to thank your staff for incredible presentation. But a couple things that I always like to be mindful of. Certainly development is great, and we love a neighborhood development, and we love focused development in our neighborhoods, North Hartford in particular. But I want us to be mindful of the green space as we continue to do
I'm
that.
sorry, I didn't hear that.
What?
I didn't hear the last thing you said. I'm sorry, Councilman.
We want to be mindful of the green space.
Oh, yes, yes.
I know you mentioned the old Snyder supermarket. I know that there's a wonderful community garden behind that. I know some of the plans that I saw that you presented, in particular, didn't look like there was enough focus to, the green space, particularly on the avenues. And I think that is a really important way to continue to beautify and make a healthy neighborhood and a healthy city. So I want us to always be mindful of that. And I know we as a city we understand how important home ownership is. It grows wealth, it, helps families, so forth and so on. But we have to be mindful of apartments and quality housing. And some people don't want to buy a home, shouldn't buy a home, can't buy a home. So we need to simultaneously, focus on that in the neighborhoods. As we've built hundreds and hundreds of apartments downtown, let's also have opportunities and times. And I know you presented some of that, but I know also there seems to be a real focus on home ownership, which I know is as important. So those were kind of my comments. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Can I quickly respond?
Yes, sir, because time is against us tonight,
Okay.
and then we see quite a few hands up.
Just so you know, the community garden is owned by Mount Moriah Church, and they have made clear they're not letting that garden go. They want it to continue to be a garden.
No, I understand that. I just want us to be mindful, and I think it's hard for people to hear you. Mindful of green space in general. Thank you.
Thank you. I will.
Thank you.
Council President Rosado.
Yes, apologize for not having my picture up, but I just want to echo also the sentiments of Councilwoman Rossetti on everything that she said, especially on the green space and the affordable quality housing. Also, I want to commend you, Director Charles, and Aaron and the rest of your team for this great presentation. And I do look forward to our committee of the whole meetings every quarter where DDS will come in front of us to update us with these kind of presentations and what's happening new in the city of Hartford. But I must say that in the years that I've been on council, I have never seen so much development in the city of Hartford. So for that, I commend you and your team. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Great. I don't think I see anyone else shake.
I have my hand up too.
I'm sorry, Councilman Sanchez, you're always, please go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I just want to say, I want to echo the sentiment from all my colleagues. And Charles, Director Matthews, I really, truly appreciate this presentation because I think it's important that not only does the council knows what's going on throughout the city when it comes to development and renovations and thinking outside the box with different types of ideas. But I think it's more important for our neighbors, our residents, NRZs, and other groups to realize what are the projects that are going on, what are the projects coming into the near future, and what are the plans for the entire city. And I do agree with you for what you said in the beginning. There seemed to be some kind of sentiment where there's no concentration in the north part of the city, whereas I myself seen these projects start, and I visited and did some touring through there, and for this I thank you because again it's important for our residents to know that there are great things happening in their neighborhood. Thank you so much to you and your staff.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Hercules.
Thank you so much, Director Matthew, and through you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to echo the sentiments of my council colleagues. It was a really great comprehensive overview, especially for me being new to the council. Just wanted to ask where this document lives outside of on the city website, because if it's not, I think it would be helpful to have it on the NRZ websites as well, especially for the NRZs that are mentioned in these development plans. So that way further community engagement and input could be made and folks can be made aware about what's happening in their neighborhoods and definitely put their voices into it. And I would just want to echo what my council member Josh Michtam mentioned about the possibility of a city-owned grocery store, because we do know that it is hard to attract investors to our community. And we know that food security is such an imperative to just quality of life, and it's a bare necessity for folks to have well-being in our neighborhoods. And so if it is something that is of such a dire need, possibly we should look into how the city could provide that service, which can then help enhance and address some of the other needs in the community. So it's just something to really, I think, give some real thought.
Yes.
We have lots of items on the agenda that we have to get through, but I do want to allow Mrs. Gallon Clark to say a few words because she was one of the person who suggested this resolution that was submitted by Majority Leader Clark and others.
Madam Chair, if I could, before I have to step away from this call. Mr. I. Charles Matthews, and I don't know if I missed it. Would you just briefly, or Aaron, just so that the community is aware of what DDS is going to be doing, I believe in a coming up couple of weeks with, is it Hartford next, where you're going to be visiting the NRZs and presenting the same PowerPoint?
Yeah, let me say this. I just got a new idea from the councilwoman. Yes, we have tried to speak to folks about what we're trying to do, and for some reason it's not resonating. So I'm thinking that maybe people are like me, they're more visual. So we're going to plan on hitting every single NRZ we can in the North End, every significant stakeholder group in the North End, and making this same presentation to them and answering any questions they may have about what's taking place. Our hope is we can dispel this notion that for whatever reason, nothing is going on in the North End. The other point that I just thought about that the councilwoman suggested is put it on the website. I didn't think about putting this presentation, quite honestly, on the website. So you can see even old dogs can learn stuff. We can also put this on the website, and for people who want to look at the city website, they can see this also.
Great. Vicky?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You got a few minutes. We got a tough agenda.
Very quickly, and I'm in a place where I cannot put my video on. I'd like to, just through you, thank Mr. Matthews and his team for a comprehensive presentation. I would like to also alleviate your concerns, Mr. Matthew, when it comes to this resolution. This basically is saying, let's work together. Community and city and other entities, let's work together to actually increase the type of diverse economic development. I noticed about half of the projects were housing related. So diverse economic development that creates jobs, since that was one of the goals that you mentioned. And I also like to say that Councilman Micdom, Newark, New Jersey has a great co-op model as well. So that's all I want to say. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. So the item on the agenda was a resolution by introduced by Councilman Clark and others. Also Development Services had sent over, they're recommending a substitute resolution. One of the things in the original resolution, it referred to working with a collective body. One of the things as a council member, the NRZs throughout the city are by state and by city are entrusted to do the economic development throughout the city. So did everyone receive the substitute resolution that was sent over by Development Services suggesting that the City of Hartford partnership, what they're supposed to do with the NRZs regarding development throughout the city? Did everyone receive the substitute resolution?
Yes, I sent it. We sent it, I believe, to all council members.
And I believe so they afforded to everyone, the committee members?
Yes, Madam Chair. Yes, I received it, certainly.
Okay. Does anybody have any concerns, issues, and substituting this resolution? I think I'm doing this correctly.
I'd be happy to move that we substitute this resolution for the one before us and send it back favorably to council.
I second the motion.
Great. We have a motion and second. Any questions, concerns? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Any abstention? Any against? Hearing none. The ayes have it. The resolution, substitute resolution, will be sent favorably to the upcoming council meeting. The second item on the agenda, let's move on. We have the pact, and we also have an additional committee meeting right after this. So we're going to try to get through this as quickly as possible. Mr. Matthews, thank you, and thank your staff again for an excellent, comprehensive presentation. I've
Thank
learned
you.
some good
Thank
stuff
you.
also. The second item on the agenda is a resolution from Mayor Bronin authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute a 2-year lease agreement with RMS Dono 1 LLC. The item was on our January 10th council agenda, item 3.5. The item also went to a public hearing on January 18th, 2022. I believe we should have also received a A24 from the Development Services Department. Mr. Matthews, do you have anyone to speak on this item?
I'm sorry, I was on the call. Aaron, is this yours?
It
Yes.
sure is.
I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries.
And I'm sorry, Aaron, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Good evening. For those who don't know me, I'm Erin Howard. I'm the Director of Economic Development under the Department of Development Services. Thank you, everyone, for tonight.
Just 1 minute. I'm going to change my location, so I'll go off and come back on.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Charles. In the essence of time, I'll just talk through this one really quickly. As you know, the city of Hartford identified RMS companies as the developer for the downtown North Crossing development. Those are the parcels that surround the stadium. I'm sure you all have seen their full development right now on parcel C. It looks pretty awesome when you drive down Main Street, and you know that they're working really diligently on that parcel. And we are in the process of actually working with the developer on exercising his option to continue to develop the second parcel, being parcel B. What we found during construction of parcel C is that there was a need for construction, storage, layout, prep, timing, that sort of thing that you need when you're doing these major developments. And we wanted to limit as much interference that we would have on the streets in Hartford. And so RMS reached out to the city early on in the development of parcel C and asked if we could use parcel A, I believe, is the data center site, to allow them to use for storage of materials and such during construction. That parcel is scheduled to be the last developed parcel in the 4 parcels that are being developed as part of this plan. So we entered into a quick 6-month lease with them. Statutes require us that if we enter into anything longer, it would require an agreement through council and an approval through council resolution. What Dono has offered to do is we've allowed them to have an access agreement. They've been using it to date. They've offered and have actually cleaned up the parcel a bit. There were some soil piles there. The fencing needed some repairs. They put up a fence with some scrim that you have probably seen that shows downtown North Crossing. And so we're just here tonight to actually move forward with formalizing that agreement to allow them to continue to use that parcel throughout the remaining portion of development. The way it's structured would be that the term of the agreement would move with them exercising their right to exercise the next parcel development, which we know that they're in the process of doing for parcel B. So if you have any questions about that, it's pretty clean cut. Looking to use that property. And as you mentioned, Councilman Surgeon, they have gone through the process, the 8-24, and moving through that pretty smoothly with a public hearing.
I do also have to add, Aaron, that I did attend the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and they had approved that. So you do have a formal approval for the 8-24 from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Any questions by the committee members? Or guys, I can't see everybody on the screen, so if you just want to speak up and if you have any questions, just speak up. Well, hearing no questions, is there, can someone put a motion on the floor?
I move favorable recommendation back to council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and properly second. Any questions, concerns? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, me too. Those against? Any abstention? The ayes have it. This item will be sent favorably to the next council meeting for formal approval. Thank you, Aaron, very much again.
Thank you.
And item number 3 on the agenda It's a resolution from Mayor Bronan approving the disposition of the following parcel to Nina Properties LLC, care of Northside Institution Neighborhood Alliance, Inc. And that was items 3.4 on the January 10, 22 agenda. And this item also went to public hearing on January 18th, and it also went to the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval.
Great. That would be me again, or DDS again. But I would like to point out really quickly, actually I have two members of the economic development team that are with us tonight, Glenn Gethers and Elizabeth Sanderson. They're project managers of the Dono project right now, and they were also key in facilitating this disposition to NINA. So I just want to make sure I acknowledge the fact that there are members from the ED team that are also here tonight, and may be able to answer some questions if you have any as I go through. So very quickly, this is a disposition of city-owned. Ooh, I have a share screen for you. How about that? Sorry about that. There you go. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Great. So this is the disposition of city-owned property to NINA Properties. The properties are 279 and 285 Farmington Avenue. Just a couple project description. Here are the two properties that we have. We've taken these properties in the past for tax liens. In the past, so they're properties that have been in our inventory for quite some time. And as you can see, they're not in exactly the best of shape. The proposal on the table, just to point out, is for NINA to take these properties, adaptively reuse them, and turn them into single-family home ownership opportunities in the community. So this next slide just kind of shows you where we're at. This kind of speaks to the blighted properties and when we take on a lot of blighted foreclosure properties or through tax deed sales, we take on these properties and they usually have a lot of issues with them. And so we're really excited for this partnership because we really want to get this property into the hands of NINA as soon as possible so they can actually rehab and preserve these historic structures on the property. So I will point out quickly that this was RFP'd. Unfortunately, it was done right around the awesome pandemic. And so it was a bit slowed to get off the ground, but it was bid out in the winter of 2020. We published the RFP. We did have a few respondents, but the respondent that favored out in the selection committee was NINA, based on their experience and the terms of which they presented. I will point out that on December 6th, Asylum Hill neighborhood did support this project. On December 15th, we did bring this already to the Historic Preservation Commission, as it would require their approval, as they are historic structures. And then, of course, on January 25th, most recently, they also went to Planning and Zoning and received a favorable vote. This picture here just shows you the site. It's at the corner of South Marshall Street and Farmington Avenue. And it's in an MX1 multi-use mixed zoning district, and it is within the National Historic District of Asylum Hill. More importantly, one thing you'll learn from the developer who is here with us today, they are working on remodifying the site plan to make the lot lines a little bit better, to have better backyards for these residents when the development occurs. So key terms and conditions, NINA will pay the city $22,500 for each property for a total of $45,000, and they will be taking the property as is. They'll be responsible for the full rehab, any of the environmental. It'll be up to them to do that due diligence and to remediate the property. Total project costs are around $1.2 million. They will be returned back into productive reuse as single-family homeowner occupied residents. There will unfortunately be some selective demolition of the southeast portion of the 285 Farmington Ave building. It was an addition that was added in the mid-1980s, and it's in significant disrepair, so we're going to get that down as soon as we possibly can. And like any other city disposition, this will have to follow this Hartford's Affirmative Action Plan, which is the 50% minority representation, 30% goal for hiring Hartford residents, and 15% for women and trade workers. So with that, I'm going to actually offer an opportunity for NINA to speak. We do have with us today Ken Johnson, the manager of NINA Properties, LLC. And with this, I will offer them an opportunity to kind of talk a little bit more about their plans for the property.
Thank you, Erin. Yes, hi, I'm Ken Johnson. I'm the executive director of Northside Institutions Neighborhood Alliance, or NINA. And NINA is proposing, as Aaron indicated, the renovation of these two historic properties as owner-occupied single-family homes. It's part of NINA's revitalization strategy for the Asylum Hill neighborhood. The neighborhood itself, as you probably all know, has very little home ownership. Only about 10% of the units are owner-occupied. And NINA strongly feels that we need to create more owner occupants with a stake in the neighborhood. And here are two really, we think, terrific opportunities to create home ownership in the neighborhood. It's worth noting that this is about 1 block east of Forest Street and Farmington Avenue. And of course, on Forest Street is two internationally renowned house museums, the Harriet Beecher Stowe House and the Mark Twain House. And for too long, these properties have obviously sat vacant and are kind of a eyesore on folks coming and visiting our neighborhood. And so we agree with Department of Development Services and what Aaron said. It's we think it's really important that these get back up and looking the way they used to look back in 1910. We've been working with TKS partners, Taisu Kim Partners. They actually had their architectural offices at 285 Farmington Avenue for a number of decades, and obviously are intimately familiar with the property. So they've been tremendous in moving forward and developing plans for the site. So we're excited about working with them and happy to take any questions that you might have.
Great. Oh, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions? Oh, Councilman Gale?
Yeah, just comments really. I mean, I'm happy to have the property transferred off the city's books and let NINA take responsibility for it. I must say, I think it's it's ambitious to talk about single-family housing on Farmington Avenue. As you were talking, I was going in my mind from Prospect Avenue to Broad Street, and I don't think there's another single-family house to be found anywhere on Farmington Avenue. So I mean, I think it's great and ambitious. I question whether it's terribly realistic long term, but
happy to answer that.
Well, let me finish my comment. The other thing is, if you get into it and it doesn't look like it's like it's realistic. The other problem, as you probably well know, is that the other end of that block with the old Comet Diner has been sitting there blighted for 15 or more years now. And it's really unfortunate that there couldn't be some combined development that benefits that entire block. And one of the things that I think I had mentioned this to somebody over at DDS at some point, which is looking at combining backyards there to create some sort of common parking area, which probably wouldn't work so well for home ownership purposes. Probably wouldn't be a problem if these were rental units or condo units. But and again, I'm not going to oppose transferring it to you, but I would just throw that out there as something that you may want to consider as you move into the development process. Perhaps there's some sort of a win-win that could help jumpstart the Comet as well, give them the ability to access a little bit more parking. And it would all be hidden. It would all be, the kind of the West Hartford Center model that I look upon very favorably, where your development is at the street level and your parking is behind. Anyway, my comment. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Any other comments? Please, council members, if I can get to everyone.
Councilman LeBron, Councilwoman.
Thank you very much, sir. Please.
Yeah. Through you, Madam Chair. So thank you, Mr. Johnson. I want to just as a Asylum Hill resident, and the property that you're talking about is a stone's throw away from here. Well, maybe when I was younger, it was a stone's throw. I'm not sure how far I could throw these days, but the point I wanted to make is, I also commend you for getting the letters of support from the community and the NRC, particularly ANA, the Asylum Hill Neighborhood Association, that's in favor of it. I actually think that it can work. I walk my dog often in front of that property. I think that historically it hasn't been a building or apartment or anything like that. It was law office previously, I believe, or something of that nature. And I think it has the structure and the bones, and it's already rooted in the community and looks as such. And I think it fits the part. So thank you for taking this on. Thank you for getting the community support on it. And thank you for investing in the Asylum Hill neighborhood.
Great. Thank you, Councilman LeBron. Seeing no one else, any concerns or
Councilwoman Hercules.
Please do, Councilwoman. You have to speak up here when we're looking at everyone. Please go ahead.
My apologies. Through you, Councilwoman Surgeon, I just want to say, obviously I know very intimately, being a NINA homeowner, the great work that you all do in the community in Asylum Hill neighborhood for sure, and increasing home ownership here in particular is very important. But having been a board member, I just wanted to ask about the level of remediation that needs to be done at that one property where it looked like there was a bunch of mold. I don't recall there ever being a property that looked in that bad of shape, but I could certainly be wrong. I was just a little curious about the plans around that in terms of environmental remediation and the capacity. Obviously, I know you guys do amazing work, but that just looked a little overwhelming from what I've seen in the past with respect to projects you've worked on.
And it is overwhelming, and that's the reason that's the portion that Aaron identified is going to be demolished. So that's the new addition that was put up in the 1980s. It had been open to the elements for quite some time, and yeah, it's not salvageable. The good part of that is, though, it's going to be taken back to the original footprint of the 1910 home, which, by the way, was a single family home, and it'll serve two helpful points. One is, right now, it is literally, you could stick your arm out and touch 279 Farmington Avenue if there was a window, but it's a complete blank brick wall to that side of 279. So it will help the value of 279 Farmington Avenue not to have that right next door. So basically, it'll be a win-win because it'll take both properties back to its original use as single-family homes. And I think it'll be a very attractive look for the Farmington Avenue corridor.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none. Would anyone put a motion on the floor?
Move to send it back favorably.
Second.
Great. The motion has been, the motion is on the floor and it's favorably second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those against? Any abstention? I didn't ask if there was any questions or comments. So the ayes have it, and we are going to favorably send that back to council with a favorable recommendation from the committee. And I'm moving really fast because time is against us, and we have another committee meeting right after that's scheduled. I'm going to try if the committee members will sort of bear with me, and if I can take a couple of things out of order, so we can try to see if we can. We have about 10 more minutes. Oh no, we don't have 10 minutes. Wow. Let me see what I can do to get the committee. See if I can get some of these items off. There was one item on the agenda, item number 7. That the department called and asked if we could postpone due to the fact that there is a committee working on, the city's working with the several members of the administration and trying to come up with some ideas how they can facilitate a tractor trailer park. So they called and asked us if we could postpone that item. So could I have a motion to postpone item number 7?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, great. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. Against? Any abstention? Okay, the item is postponed until our next committee meeting. There's another item on the agenda, item number 5, which is an ordinance, accompanying resolution, ordinance amending the housing code. There's a public hearing coming up on the 22nd. So we would need to postpone this item until the following committee meeting before taking this item up.
Motion to postpone.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Sanchez. Appreciate that. Those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Great. Thank you. No abstention. Any against? Hearing none. We will postpone this item until the following council meeting. So we only have 2 other items on the agenda, and that is item number 4 and item number 5. Item number 4 is accompanying resolution supporting the overall effort of the mayor and the Parkville Arts and Innovation District Steering Committee. That's item number 3.1 on our January 24th agenda. Do we have anyone from the administration to speak on item number 4?
Yes.
Welcome back, Erin.
3 times the charm, right? Good evening, and I will. I appreciate the time, and I will go as fast as I can. And I do have a consultant here, Liz Torres from the Vita Nuva team, who's sharing her screen. But to kind of start this off, this is a council resolution requesting some support from council and authorizing the mayor to accept any grant funds as it relates to Innovation Corridor grant focused on the Parkville Arts and Innovation District. Take one step back in October of 2021, the state of Connecticut announced 2 key grant programs as a result of the ARPA and state budget process. And those 2 programs were the Innovation Corridor grant and the Challenge grants. And so Challenge grants were focused on more shovel-ready projects. And the Parkville Art, or the Innovation Corridor, I may add, was focused on larger scale place-based investments where it would meet the state's overall goal of creating 15,000 jobs across the state. And the Innovation Corridor grant program specifically was targeted to the urban cities. It was always intended to be for Hartford, New Haven, Stamford, and others to go after making investments in areas where we could boost the state's economy, support jobs, job creation, workforce development, and that sort of thing. So when we did an assessment of the city, we were looking around and recognized that the Parkville district, or the Parkville neighborhood, over the years has had a significant amount of planning, a significant amount of public investments to date, and a growing ecosystem already around Parkville Arts and Innovation. And most importantly, and most recently, the city's most recent city plan identified this area, which you see in purple here, as the Parkville Arts and Innovation District, as one of the city's 10 transformative project areas in the city. So we've recognized that in our own efforts over the last few years. But just to point out, this is consistent with, there is an Nrz Strategic Plan. We've built upon that. We've built upon a TOD transit study that was the most recent study done. And this area also falls within an HRA MDP area. So with that, what we said was, well, okay, we want to go after this $50 million grant and we have this great opportunity, but the grant needs to leverage private investment and it needs to, again, create those jobs. And so we pulled together a quick steering committee and went out and put out for a bid to select a consultant to assist the city in helping us achieve that goal. And so where you are today, what you see in front of you is an opportunity and a program that would make, we're going for a $50 million investment in the Parkville neighborhood geared around innovation, specifically advanced manufacturing, as that was what the state has identified over the last few years as an opportunity for growth here in the city. And the last thing I'd say before I hand this over to Liz, who will briefly go through a quick set of slides with everyone, is that in Parkville, one of the most transformative things that has happened for the city is that this summer, the city has acquired the 33 acres of the old Danny Corps site that is just south of Bartholomew Ave. And this is one of the largest tract of lands in Hartford. It is also significantly contaminated, but at the same time, it offers an amazing opportunity for growth in the Parkville community. And we're very excited to see what happens. And so part of this grant talks about how we can leverage businesses and leverage investments and growth in that neighborhood. So with that, I'm going to give this to Liz to briefly go through it and go through where we're at today with the grant.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Liz Torres. I'm a member of the Vita Nova team. I'm thrilled to be with you this evening. I will make my comments brief. So as Aaron mentioned, the DECD Innovation Corridor Grant is a $100 million fund created by the state of Connecticut for municipalities and economic development agencies and regional council of governments to compete for. Each applicant can apply for up to $50 million, and that's what the city is proposing to do. The state announced this funding opportunity October 19th and pretty much gave nobody any time to pull together a grant. The application deadline for the grant is March 4th, just not about a month away. As Aaron mentioned, the grant objectives is about creating jobs, and jobs specifically in data science, advanced manufacturing, and insurance technology. Hartford's initiative will focus on advanced manufacturing. Another key objective of the grant is to leverage partnerships with local businesses, universities, and nonprofits. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when I share the slide about the focus area that we're working in. The third objective is to attract and develop talent in major urban cities, just like Parkville, right? Just like Hartford's Parkville neighborhood. The state is serious about ensuring that these efforts are inclusive and that the community is represented. And so one of the major asks from the city when our consulting company got involved is that we really needed to come up with a robust community engagement plan, which we have. Our team got started in December 20th. Before long, we launched the website. So January 10th was the date that our website went, the Parkville Arts and Innovation website went live. So please Google it and check out the website. There is an opportunity for the community to reach out and provide feedback on the vision and the plan. On January 24th, we completed a market assessment, which is what we based the vision and the goals of this opportunity on. We're here before you guys today to hopefully get your support for this great project. We are facilitating a community workshop on February 10th. And as I've shared, I'm going to harp on the fact that this application is due on March 4th. As I shared, we developed a really robust community engagement strategy. The city very, very much wanted to hear the community's voice, very much wanted to ensure the community that we're not using a top-down approach, but we want to hear from the residents and the community about what they want to see in Parkville. So we've reached out to more than 50 organizations, facilitated more than 100 meetings, and talked to more than 200 people, and we have not yet facilitated our first workshop. So our first community engagement workshop is on February 10th. It's going to be located in the community at Real Artways from 4 to 7. Vita Nova team will be there. We will have staff that are fluent in Spanish and will be ready to translate. There will be food and activities, and please help us get the word out about this event. So the vision, right? The Parkville Arts and Innovation District is about creating a regional hub. It's about connecting residents to local workforce training opportunities through existing services and our higher ed institutions. This initiative is about creating a live, work, move, play, grow environment in a walkable neighborhood, and about nurturing the diversity of the community that is Parkville, and redeveloping underutilized buildings that are historic. So this is about preserving the historic characteristics of certain buildings on Bartholomew and restoring buildings back to their original intent, right? That have been vacant for 20 years. And many of the buildings that have been identified as part of this project also have environmental contamination, extensive environmental contamination that will be remediated. So the Park and Arts and Innovation District focus area. So keep in mind that the area that we're focusing on for this grant does not incorporate the entire Arts and Innovation District. This is just the area that we're focusing on. So the boundaries are Park Street, Hamilton, and Bartholomew, with the bulk of the renovation work happening on Bartholomew. The state is incentivizing municipalities to include projects that are shovel ready in our plan. And so we have identified 5 or 6 different shovel ready projects, including Real Artways, the Parkville Market expansion, the residential development, the proposed residential development at 17 Bartholomew, the redevelopment of the Spaghetti Warehouse building, AKA Powerhouse building, AKA 45 Bartholomew. And the largest building project that we've included as part of this initiative is 237 Hamilton. Also known, I'm not sure what the other address is, but in this first phase that we are defining as shovel ready, we expect to create 246 housing units and 333,000 square feet of commercial space. Commercial space that will house a new brewery, commercial space that will house a workforce development hub, an innovation center, and a 4.0 beta center. So with that, I know I've been talking quickly, but please let me know if you have any questions.
So Liz, I just want to point out a couple quick things. When we talk about institutions and partners, I think it's really important to share with everyone that we have a strong commitment and relationship with Capital Community College. So they have shown some significant investment or interest in actually making an investment in Parkville, locating and creating some form of an advanced manufacturing center or training facility within this location. We even had a conversation with the president of the community college system, and why that's so key is because we're trying to create an ecosystem where it's a live, work, play model, where we can offer a location where folks can live, have access to these high-end companies, have access to talent, the access to workforce and training, and still have a space where they can live and play. And we can't find that anywhere here in the state of Connecticut. So not only is it about saving jobs or creating jobs, it's also an opportunity to retain our talent. And so folks can actually still live in where they grew up and they don't have to leave the state of Connecticut. So there's great opportunities behind this. And most importantly, I should share with council that this was something that came up very quickly. And this is not a full planning effort. Our engagement with our consultant was to help us flush out the story behind these investments, to tell the vision and story of the Parkville Arts and Innovation District. There is a lot more work that has to come after we submit this grant and focused on a redevelopment strategy. So even though the Danny Core property, for example, is highlighted in this grant, we still have so much work to do to say what really goes there, what does it look like, and how do we help implement this vision? And most importantly, when we do that, there needs to be strong engagement with the residents and the community at large, not just our stakeholders and partners, but everyone needs to be engaged in that effort. And last but not least, because of the efforts to date, we have high-level investors watching this location, and they're very interested with everything happening with innovation in Hartford, with InsurTech and MedTech. We have companies that really want to participate and be engaged in this. And so there is a real opportunity where we can achieve that goal. The last thing, this is the last thing I would say, is that it's evolving. As you can tell, the timeline, these guys have only been working on this for 6 weeks, and we only have maybe 5 weeks, 4 weeks left to pull this grant together. And so there will be some changes and really refining what the grant ask is at the end of the day. But we really would love to have council support in the overall concept of making an investment in Parkville and supporting our efforts of gaining that money and being able to make these investments and move forward in one of our neighborhoods. So with that, I'll turn that back over to you, Councilwoman Trojan, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Erin. I see the passion and the enthusiasm for this project, which is great. Thank you, Mrs. Torres, or Miss, I apologize. Any council members, comments, questions Just wave, let me know.
Madam Chair.
Sorry, go ahead, Councilwoman Rossetti.
Just real quick, thank you again, Aaron, and thank you, Ms. Torres. We spoke earlier today. I know we mentioned that you might be able to bring it back to us. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, Aaron?
Sure. So in order, it would be we really need to be able to move forward with the support for the council resolution, but we do recognize that there's some way more details that we can share. And so while the grants needed to be submitted by March 4th, we're happy to come back at the next PEDH meeting or the one after the grant submittal and really share the fine details of what those investments ended up being and provide even more of information around this Parkville opportunity and actually talk about next steps. So we're more than happy to do that and keep council engaged in this process, as this is a huge opportunity in one of our neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm. Any other council members?
Yes, Madam Chair.
There you go, sir. Please go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the offer that you can come back and present to us with further details. But my concern is not to lose the opportunity.
We're losing you.
Yep. Jimmy, we're losing you. Councilman Sanchez? I think he's just frozen. Any other comments, concerns? Those are the technology issues.
I'll jump in, Madam Chair, while
Thank you very much, sir.
Councilman Sanchez to come back. I just want to share Aaron's and Liz's enthusiasm for the project. As you know, as somebody who's sat here forever, looking around at Hartford in various neighborhoods languishing and lack of development, it's just so wonderful and exciting to see that the state's jumping into it and prepared to put some money into it. And it doesn't come without hard work. I think there's got to be a lot of shout outs and kudos to people like Carlos Muta, a Hartford guy who has put blood, sweat, and tears into Parkville and a lot of his own money to help set the stage for us being able to make this happen. And I to kind of jump off on one other thing that I heard Aaron mention, I think this does present us with a wonderful opportunity for more development. Should this kind of thing get launched and work well, and people are watching it, I could see that whole corridor of Windsor Street, which has tremendous development potential, especially for innovation and manufacturing. With some of the stuff that I heard earlier, Development Services Director Matthews talk about with Arrowhead and the Keeney Tower and the stuff at the near end of Windsor Street, you could see another innovation district coming right there. Now, I could be wrong about that, but it just strikes me that this is a great opportunity. I love it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilman Gale. Not sure if Councilman Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just having, for some odd reason, some really bad signal at the last 5 minutes. No, I was done. I'm just hoping again, just to repeat myself, to move this to, if we're done, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, please do, sir. Please do.
I'd like to make a motion to send this to council with a favorable recommendation, as well as, Ms. Howard and DDS, to please come back with more details on this project, and also the outcome of the grant application.
Second.
Great. The motion has been, there's a motion on the floor, it's been favorably second. I'm sorry, those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Any abstention? Hearing none. We are sending this resolution to the overall council next meeting favorably to create the Parkville Arts and Innovation Steering Committee. Aaron and Ms. Torres, thank you so very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Last item on the agenda is going to be a resolution by Councilman Clark, Council President Rossetti, Councilman LeBron, Sanchez, and Surgeon, and this resolution is calling for change in fines for illegal dumping. This was item 6.2 on our January 24th, 2022 council agenda. And I know Director Looney has been with us since 5:30. I want to thank you very much, Director Looney, for your patience.
No problem.
Would you like to give us some comments on the resolution?
Well, first of all, through you, Madam Chair, I would like to thank the council for their initiative in looking to increase the fines for illegal dumping and illegal or improper waste disposal. Obviously, it's an issue that we're constantly struggling with in the city, and any sort of incentive that we can provide folks to think differently and make better decisions are always welcome. So we at DPW, we appreciate the increase in the fine. I think it's appropriate. I was talking to our solid waste inspectors recently as part of the budget preparation, and just the number of these things that illegal dumping that we deal with. We have usually probably about 7 or 8 months out of the year, almost every Saturday, we have some work to do in cleaning up various illegal dumps of differing sizes around the city. And we work very closely with the police and with the Blight Division under DDS to try to crack down on these things. And quite frankly, if we get something on camera, or one of my inspectors finds an envelope with somebody's address on it in the pile of what's been illegally dumped, we skip right over the fine and we go straight for looking for prosecution. But for instances of smaller cases, those are sort of the bigger cases, we go that route. But for the smaller cases, I think this is certainly justified, and hopefully will have a positive impact on curbing that type of destructive behavior.
Right. Thank you, Director Looney. Any committee members' comments?
Councilwoman Surgeon, I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
I'll make it brief. Director Looney, oftentimes I get pictures and folks from the community who take videos and pictures and things like that. Do you encourage that? And is there a way or a link or a way to submit that information so that folks potentially can do it anonymously? Or is that in consideration at all?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, Councilman, absolutely. We encourage everybody to do that. We have, as everyone knows, we have a pretty vast system of cameras around the city, but you're never able to cover every spot. And sometimes you may have a camera right nearby, but the dumping didn't occur within the frame, and or you can't make out the license plate. So anyone who has information on this, we absolutely want them to come forward, because we as the city, we can't be everywhere 24 hours a day. And we really need our residents to help try to work with us to put an end to this type of behavior. But in terms of actual videos, I think going to any of the HPD CSOs, or you can submit it to my office as well, to Betrayal Mailer or myself, and we will get it to the sanitation inspectors, Alfie Blake and Sion, who will then take it to the next step and then start to get involved with HPD.
Thank you, Director, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. Any other questions, comments? I've got a question, Director. So the recommendation was for $199 for illegal dumping. I know that has to go into a framework of an ordinance, but I wanted us to get an idea from you if this is something which is, appropriate to be done. Is the $199 feasible? Do you think it should be more? Would you recommend, dropping a couch on or some? I see a lot of tires. Should we increase it more to pursuant to the type or the kind of stuff they're dumping, or the amount of the dumping?
Well, I think, Madam Chair, that the $199 is appropriate. I mean, you're increasing the fine, which has probably been $99 for, I imagine, a considerable period of time. You're basically doubling that. So I think that, as an initial step, that's an appropriate measure to take. Yeah, so I guess that's how I would frame that.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'd like to piggyback. Yes. I'd like to piggyback on your question. Mm-hmm. So, Director Looney, would it be more appropriate if we can increase it to a $500 fine with a intermittent amount that will basically, let's say it's a second offense, it'll hit $250, but if they continue this behavior, then we can go to either $350 and then $500, depending on what type of material they were dumping, because tires are an environmental issue. As you know, when we go change and buy new tires, we're charged an extra fee, surcharge to dispose of it. Also, you have a different type of trash, environmental issue. Now, if it was bushes and trees, that's more, biodegradable. It could fit a different type of fine. So I'm just throwing this in just to see if there is any room that we can apply difference in certain types of fines depending on what's being disposed of and in what neighborhood they're disposing it. For instance, park versus next door to someone's home.
Through you, Madam Chair, I would be in support of looking at a structured system like that. I'm not sure we could craft the ordinance language right here on this meeting tonight, but perhaps that would be something we could certainly work together as council and DPW on trying to draft something along those lines.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
No, thank you, Councilman Sanchez. It's exactly what I was trying to get to, but I don't think I could have articulated it as you did. So thank you for that. Is there any other questions, concerns? Hearing none. Councilman Sanchez, would you make a motion with maybe amending it with putting some kind of structure?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to send it to council favorably with a friendly amendment. And I think I may need Councilman Gale's help on this one, or Councilman Mictum, or Councilwoman Hercules, to make sure we get the language right, to amend the resolution to address and amend the ordinance to increase the fee according to the type of discarded materials and the environment is discarded in.
Is that
happy to second that, and happy to work with all of the persons you noted to come up with a good substitute resolution for the council meeting.
Thank you very much, Councilman Gale. I appreciate it. I think Sadia would love to do the language if you could work with her to get that done before our next council meeting. So we have a motion on the floor with some recommended changes for fee structure, and it's been seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Anyone against? Any abstention? Hearing none, we are going to the highest habit. We're going to favorably send this resolution with some amended friendly changes back to the City Council for our next council meeting. That wraps up all of our items on the agenda. I want to thank everyone for attending. We have a next council meeting. If the committee wants to stay tuned, there is a joint PD&H and Management and Budget Committee meeting. Maybe take a 5-minute break. I think majority of the members are also on OMB. Yes. Motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
So moved.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
And Madam Chair, so are we staying on this link?
I think
You
it's
know
a
that-
different link.
I think it's a different link.